Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss the integumentary system. There is nothing more conspicuous about an organism than its skin. It is our primary means of identifying the organism and is what defines the boundary of its body. Skin is also the primary means through which an organism interacts with its environment. Because of its importance as the primary interface between an organism and its environment, the skin is designed to perform many functions. Different vertebrate taxa have very diverse ways of performing these functions and have evolved many different structures derived from the integument. In the basic structure of integument, you can see the integument consists of primarily the skin and its derivatives. Skin is a functional unit composed of the fairly distant epidermis, which is derived from the ectoderm, and the dermis, which is derived from the dermatome of the somites. If we study the different taxa, we can find many different forms of integument based on the different environment that each organism inhabits. Now, we will see in detail the general structure of the integumentary system or the integument. What is integument? We will see first. The integument is an organ and is an alternative name for the skin. The integumentary system includes the skin and the skin derivatives, for example hairs, nail and the glands. The integument is the largest system of the body, which weighs about 16% of the body weight, and it covers 1.5 to 2 meters square in area. The integument is made up of two parts. First part is cutaneous membrane and second part is accessory structures. The cutaneous membrane is of two layers. First layer is epidermis, which is superficial epithelium, and the second layer is dermis. The second part is accessory structures, which includes hairs, nails and exocrine glands. Now we will see the functions of the integumentary system. The most important function of the integument is protection. It acts as the first line of defense against the bacteria and viruses. It protects the underlying structures from the ultraviolet radiations and it also avoids the dehydration of the body. It supports and protects the soft tissues against the abrasions and microbes. It helps in the reception and transduction of external stimuli like heat, chemical and tactile. It helps to transport the materials involved in the excretion, secretion, resorption, dehydration, rehydration, etc. It is helpful in the heat regulation of the body. It is helpful in the respiration. It is helpful in the nutrition or nutrient storage, that is storage of vitamins, synthesis of vitamin D. And this vitamin D is needed for the calcium absorption. The skin also helps in locomotion in some organisms. The skin gives coloration to the body and it is having the sensory receptors also. How the skin helps in regulating the body temperature we will see. If the temperature of body gets too hot, the dermal blood vessels get dilated and the dilated blood vessels carry more blood to the surface so heat can escape from the body. If too cold, then the dermal blood vessels can constrict and this constriction prevents the heat from escaping from the body. The skin helps in excretion. how it helps in excretion. The small amounts of waste products are lost through the perspiration. For example, sweat. Now we will see the structure of skin. Understanding how the skin can function in these many ways starts with understanding the structure of the three layers of the skin. First layer is the epidermis, which is made up of epithelial tissue. The second layer is dermis. It is made up of dense connective tissue, proper and irregular. Third layer is hypodermis, and it is made up of subcutaneous tissue, loose connective tissue, proper and adipose tissue. Now, this diagram will show the three layers of the skin. The first layer is epidermis, which is the outermost layer of the skin. The second layer is dermis. It is the largest portion of the or largest layer of the skin. And at last, there is presence of hypodermis, or it is also called as subcutaneous layer, which is present below the dermal layer. Now, we will see epidermis in detail. The epidermis is a vascular stratified squamous epithelium. The nutrients and oxygen diffuse from capillaries in the dermis by the epidermis. The cells present in the epidermis are keratinocytes. These keratinocytes contain large amount of keratin, hence these are called as keratinocytes. These keratinocytes are the most abundant cells in the epidermis. See, this is the outermost covering, which is called as epidermis. These are the epidermal ridges, and this is the dermal papilla. These epidermal ridges gets fit into this dermal papilla. This is the structural relationship and interface between the epidermis and underlying dermis. The proportions of the various layers differ with the location sampled. This layer is dermal layer, which is present below the epidermis. Now, we will see thin skin versus thick skin. The thin skin covers most of the body parts, and this thin skin has 4 layers of keratinocytes. This has to be remembered. What? In thin skin there is presence of only 4 layers of keratinocytes, while this thick skin, it covers only the palms of the hands and soles of the feet, and this thick skin has 5 layers of keratinocytes. This is the difference between thin skin and the thick skin. In thin skin there is presence of only 4 layers of keratinocytes, while in case of thick skin there is presence of 5 layers of keratinocytes. Structures of epidermis, we can see the 5 strata of keratinocytes in thick skin are present, and these are from the basal lamina to the free surface of the epidermis. First layer is stratum basale, or the first strata layer or the first strata keratinocyte present in the epidermis is stratum basale. Second one is stratum spinosum. Third one is stratum granulosum. Fourth one is stratum lucidum, and fifth is stratum corneum. In this figure you can see there are 5 keratinocytes in the epidermis. This is total epidermal layer. In this you can see this is the surface of the epidermis, outermost layer, it is surface. Below that there is presence of stratum corneum. Next to that there is presence of stratum lucidum. Below that there is presence of stratum granulosum. and stratum spinosum is present below the stratum granulosum. Stratum basale is present at the borders of the basement membrane, and this is the basement membrane. This is the dermal layer. This is about the 5 stratas present at the epidermis. The first layer is stratum basale. It is attached to the basement membrane by hemidesmosomes. Hemidesmosomes. Here, this is the stratum basale keratinocyte, and these are attached to this basement membrane with the help of the hemidesmosomes. Hemidesmosomes are very small stud-like structures found in keratinocytes of the epidermis of the skin. This stratum basale forms a strong bond between the epidermis and the dermis. It forms the epidermal ridges, for example, like the fingerprints. Below that there is presence of the dermal papillae, which are like the tiny mounds. These dermal papillae increase, these are the dermal papillae. These dermal papillae increase the area of basement membrane. These increase the area of this basement membrane, and these dermal papillae strengthen the attachment between epidermis and the dermis. It has many basal cells, or these are also called as germinative cells. This is the picture of the thick skin of the palm of the hand, and this is the finger, and you can see here this picture shows that there is presence of the pores of sweat gland ducts on the thick skin of the palm, and these are the epidermal ridges. These are the epidermal ridges which can form the prints, and these are the pores of sweat glands which are present on the palms. Now, the second layer is stratum spinosum, which is present above the stratum basale. This stratum spinosum layer is a spiny layer. This is the stratum spinosum layer, which is spiny layer. It is produced by the division of stratum basale. This stratum basale gets continuously divided, and because of the division of stratum basale, this keratinocyte layer is formed, which is called as stratum spinosum. 8 to 10 layers of keratinocytes bound by desmosomes in this stratum spinosum. These desmosomes are a structure by which two adjacent cells get attached. Cells shrink until cytoskeletons stick out, which are spiny. They continue to divide, increasing thickness of the epithelium. These contain dendritic, like Langerhans cells, active in immune response. Above stratum spinosum layer, there is presence of this stratum granulosum layer. This is the grainy layer. Stratum spinosum is spiny layer, while this stratum granulosum is grainy layer. This stops dividing and starts producing. There is presence of keratin and keratohyalin in the stratum granulosum. Keratin is a tough fibrous protein and makes up hair and nails, while keratohyalin is made up of a dense granules, or it is a dense granule, and has cross-link keratin fibers. Above that, there is presence of the stratum lucidum. This is a clear layer and found only in the thick skin and covers the stratum granulosum. This is the stratum granulosum, and above that there is presence of this stratum lucidum, and this stratum lucidum is present only in the thick skin. This stratum lucidum is absent in the thin skin, and hence there are four layers or four strata in the thin skin, and because of the presence of this stratum lucidum, this there is five stratas in the thick skin, for example in the palm region and sole regions. Above that there is presence of the stratum corneum. This stratum corneum is a horny layer, horn layer. It is exposed surface of the skin. There are 15 to 30 layers of keratinized cells in the stratum corneum. This is water resistant layer, and this stratum corneum is shed off and replaced every 2 weeks. This is about the 5 stratas which are present in the epidermis. Now we will see the dermal layer or dermis. The dermis is located between the epidermis and the subcutaneous layer. In this picture you can see this is the epidermal layer and this is the subcutaneous layer, and in between this epidermis and this subcutaneous layer there is presence of this epidermis. It anchors the epidermal accessories structures like hair follicles and sweat glands. Means what? This dermis helps to anchor the accessories which are present in the epidermis, and because of the dermis that accessories of the epidermis get adhered. There are two components present in the dermal layer. First one is outer papillary layer and second one is deep reticular layer. The outer papillary layer consists of areolar tissue. It contains smaller capillaries, lymphatics and sensory neurons, and it has the dermal papillae projecting between epidermal ridges. The innermost layer, the reticular layer, consists of dense irregular connective tissue. It contains larger blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerve fibers. It contains collagen and elastic fibers, and it also contains the connective tissue proper. This is the diagrammatic representation of dermis. In this picture you can see this is the capillary loop of the papillary plexus. This is the dermal papillae. This is the epidermal ridges. These are epidermal ridges which can fit in the epidermis. This is hair. These are the papillary layers, and this is the reticular layer. These are the two layers. This is the outermost layer of the dermis which is called as papillary layer, and the innermost layer it is called as reticular layer. This is the cutaneous plexus, and now we will see the hypodermis or subcutaneous layer. This hypodermis lies below the integument. This hypodermis stabilizes the skin. It allows separate movements. It is made up of elastic areolar and adipose tissues. It is connected to the reticular layer of integument by connective tissue fibers. Deposits of subcutaneous fat are present in the hypodermis, and the distribution patterns determined by the hormones. Distribution of this hypodermis is determined by the hormones. The fat which is deposited in this hypodermal region is reduced by the cosmetic liposuction method which is called as lipoplasty. This is the hypodermis which is present below the dermal region. Now we will see the structure of hair. The hair follicle are the organs that form the hairs. These are located deep in the dermis and produces non-living hairs. These are wrapped in a dense connective tissue sheath, and the base of this hair follicle is surrounded by sensory nerves which are called as root hair plexus. This hair follicle controls the infection of bacteria. This is the structure of hair. This accessory structure of hair is the arrector pili. What is the arrector pili? This is, in this picture you can see, here is the presence of this arrector pili muscle. This is nothing but the muscle, and it is involuntary smooth muscle. It causes the hair to stand up and produces the goosebumps. The sebaceous glands are present at the base of the hair or above the hair follicle. There is presence of the sebaceous glands. These sebaceous glands helps to lubricate the hair. This is the function of the sebaceous glands. These are the two accessory structures of the hair. First accessory structure of hair is arrector pili muscle, which helps to stand up the hair, and these are the sebaceous glands which helps to lubricate the hair. This is the exposed shaft of the hair. This is the exposed shaft of the hair. It is non-living thing. These are the sebaceous glands. This is arrector pili muscle. These are connective tissue sheaths, and this is the root hair plexus. This is the root hair plexus which helps to avoid the infection and which gives nourishment to the hair. The lower part of the hair is the hair root. It is attached to the integument. You can see here, this is the total hair root which is attached to the integument. The hair shaft is the upper part of the hair and it is not attached to the integument. This total is the hair root, and this is the hair shaft which is not attached to the integument. This is hair shaft. This is sebaceous gland, as I have told you previously, the function of sebaceous gland. This is the hair arrector pili muscle, a hair root, connective tissue sheath. This is hair bulb, hair matrix. Okay, and this is the boundary between the hair shaft and the hair root. The hair shaft structure, it has the medulla, cortex and cuticle in it. The medulla is the core dead cells contain soft keratin and hair to provide the flexibility to the hair. The cortex is the middle layer which is made up of dead cells contain hard keratin to provide stiffness to the hair. And the cuticle is the outermost covering. Overlapping dead keratinized cells are present which forms the shiny surface and which gives shining to the hair. Functions of hair. There are several functions of the hair. It gives protection from the UV rays. It forms the cushion from the trauma. Means it gives protection to head by the trauma. Insulation is another function of the hair. Means it gives it avoids the heat or it protects the head from the or body from the heat. In nostrils, ear canals and eyelashes, they have different functions. The hair prevents entry of foreign material in nostrils, ear canals and eyelashes. Body hairs are sensory, means they detect the sensation. The root hair plexus, these are having the sensory nerves at base of hair follicle that detects light movement of the hair. And the arrector pili muscle, which are attached to every hair follicle. The contract to stand hair perpendicular to the skin surface, means this erector pili muscle get contracted and help the hair to stand perpendicular to form the goosebumps on the skin. Now, now we'll see the structure and functions of the nail. The nails protects the fingers and toes, um, and they are made up of dead cells packed with the keratin. The metabolic disorders can change nail structure, and nail production occurs in deep epidermal fold near the bone called as nail root. This is the diagram of the nail of human. You can see in this picture, this is the free edge of the nail. This is called as the body of nail. You can see these borders are called as lateral nail folds. This curve is called as lunula, and below that there is presence of epinicium or cuticle. Now, the structure of nail. First we will see the nail body. The visible portion of the nail is called as nail body. This is the nail body. It covers the nail bed. Below that there is presence of nail bed. This is the linula. The pale crescent at the base of the nail, it is called as linula. The sides of the nail, these are the sides of the nail. These lies at the lateral nail grooves. These are the lateral nail grooves, and these are surrounded by the lateral nail folds. These are the lateral nail folds. In this picture you can see a cross-sectional view of the nail. In this you can see this is the nail body which covers this nail bed. This is the nail bed, and the nail body covers the nail bed. You can see here this is the lateral nail groove. Here is lateral nail groove, and here is also presence of lateral nail groove. And these are the lateral nail folds which are present on the lateral sides of these lateral nail grooves. And at the middle there is presence of phalanx, or it is also called as bone of fingertip. This is the bone of fingertip. This is about the cross-sectional view of the nail. This is the longitudinal section of the nail. In this picture you can see this is nail body. Below that there is presence of the base. Above that there is presence of the nail body. Below this tip of the nail body there is presence of the skin which is called as hyponychium. Okay, and above that there is presence of the skin which is called as eponychium. The below skin is called as hyponychium, while the above skin is called as eponychium. This is the proximal nail fold. This is the nail root. Means what? From here the nail starts getting generated. This is the epidermal layer, this is the dermis layer, and this is the phalanx, means the tip bone. This is about the cross-sectional, longitudinal section of the nail. This is about the generalized structure of the skin. In next lecture we will study the skin structures in different vertebrate taxa. Thank you for listening this lecture very carefully and being attentive. Thank you. Special thanks to the iTutor. Thank you very much.